we're going to have Paul Teller join us in just a second. So I know Paul is wrapping up an appointment. They're going to be hopping on with us. And what Paul and I are going to discuss for pretty much the remainder of our call today is how do you set up a home office for a virtual recruiting conversation? So as Paul jumps on, I think I just saw him pop in. There we go. Good to see you, Paul.
Good to see you, Tim.
All right, so we covered a lot of other things today in leading up to what does it mean now to have a virtual recruiting conversation? So I'm going to go full screen with us. And you've been doing this successfully. You've had some conversations, and you and I have talked over the last week about what are those conversations like now versus just 6 or 7 weeks ago.
Yeah. So Tim, a couple things come to mind and how they're different is one, we're seeing that it's more efficient in time. So we're able to actually get more accomplished in a digital meeting than traditionally. The other thing that's critical, Tim, is that technology not only works and yet it is it's the same caliber that our market centers would provide in, let's say, as from a recruiting standpoint, the power walk and walking through and showing the bold wall, showing the capper wall, and those types of things. In a digital meeting, we have to communicate all of that through a camera and a microphone, which is why I believe it's mission critical to have it set up so that when they see you on camera, they have that same wow experience as they would when they walk into a market center and they're greeted by name and they see this and the conference rooms and the Y4 C2Ts and that sort of stuff. So that's what we're seeing, and that's why I'm so excited that you're doing this and that other people are dialing into top-notch video and top-notch sound as it relates to recruiting and conversations.
Yeah. So I didn't really give you a full introduction other than you're a MAPS leadership coach. So why don't you just spend 30 seconds on what is your role inside of KW outside of being a MAPS coach?
Oh, yeah. Outside of being a coach with you, Tim, my day job is the team leader at the Overland Park Market Center in Kansas City. So I get to work and pour a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into the Johns family that started the Kansas City area Keller Williams and get to work with them and come to work at the Overland Park office in Kansas City.
And if things changed for you as far as being able to come into the market center in the last 8 weeks?
Yeah, we were never shut down, Tim, and yet we did encourage and provide a way for our staff to work remotely. And just last week, so this is our second full week that we have come back and transitioned into working here at the market center as opposed to working remotely. Okay. So this like day 7 back in the market center. Still no face-to-face recruiting appointments. Everything's like this.
So you went from a city that shut down due to a Super Bowl parade into very quickly shutting down for very negative reasons and now reopening as of 7 days. So something you and I have been talking about is what is the actual equipment setup? So more and more of our agents and leaders are getting comfortable having a conversation like this. And quite honestly, you've been on some of these as well, where the sound is sometimes awful. The whole setup, how do I have a 30-30-40 or a tech audit? What does that even look like? So in your experience, Paul, how were you set up before this versus what did you have to do to get to where you are now?
Yeah, so how I was set up before was me and my computer and hopefully, and that's not a strategy, good internet. And sometimes the audio would be spotty. So the camera would be, getting my best angle. And oftentimes, Tim, I'll be honest with you, having to look at yourself while you're having a recruiting appointment is, well, it's something that I wasn't prepared for. And seeing myself in not my best camera angle, if you will, and not the best sound, limited my confidence as a recruiter and as a coach and as a trainer.
Well,
so it started with me and My webcam.
So it was originally you and your webcam, and you've since upgraded. And we're going to look at some of those photos that you sent to me today. So we'll pull them up on the screen. Back at Family Reunion, I had a conversation with a very successful team leader, and this leader said to me, "Wow, you've lost a ton of weight, haven't you?" I said, "No." And her response to me was, "Wow, you need a better camera angle. You got to find a way, because you look very different in person than you do on your camera." So that's a great point. As simple as raising up your camera angle so that it's eye level. Nobody wants the angle that is below their chin facing up. It can make a world of difference. So I thought it'd be useful to show what you sent me today. Maybe we could just kind of talk through this.
Sure.
We'll shift over as I'm working off of two screens and kind of looking to the side. All right, so we've got your setup. So tell us about this setup.
Yeah, so that is almost as if I'm standing behind my computer and right now. So if I was to FaceTime while we're doing this, you would see that exact same setup. So I've got two adjustable height desk that I'm able to put at what I feel is comfortable. So it's a stand-up desk. Mm-hmm. And I bought two of them at IKEA, and one if you could kind of tell from that picture, Tim, it's set up as a T. So I've got one going horizontal against the wall, and then one coming vertical. So picture a peninsula in a kitchen type of setup, which allows the camera to be far enough away so that it can capture the room, so that I can do a power walk. You see right over there. Mm-hmm. If it's not full screen, maybe someone can remember. Yet that's the bold poster. Right. And then I've got Millionaire Real Estate Agent. So when you have a setup like this with the camera that can picture your office, then you can begin to have a power walk and a recruiting conversation when the camera's set up that way, because we're able to talk about the different things. So that's the setup. I went from standard webcam or house camera on the computer to it reminded me, Tim, like 2005, when you had the little webcam that sits on the top of your computer. Yeah. I mean, that's all that it is. It's just sitting on a tripod, USB coming over here, and then was able to get this dynamic mic and plug it into soundboard so that the sound could be easy to listen to, essentially.
Okay. And then we shift over to what looks like your lighting setup. Tell me more about this.
Well, I wonder if it would be best to maybe demonstrate how important lighting is when you're having a video conference like this, because you don't know what you don't know, and if the lighting isn't right, or if it's on one side or behind you, it could wash out or overexpose the camera. So this lighting setup, Amazon, you can get it for $125. So it's the return on investment, Tim, is great, and it's called the brand. If it matters, I sent you that picture. It didn't matter to me. Okay, yeah, it's just it looks like a photography studio. The difference is it's constant lighting or consistent lighting. So it's basically just a lamp with that white net over it to provide good lighting.
Okay. Yeah. Would it be difficult for you to turn off your lighting in your office right now if I go full screen with us?
Not at all.
I'll go full screen for a second, so we can get an understanding of what it looks like. And I know you have a blue light in the background too.
Before.
Yeah. So even with a good camera, you could argue that maybe the good camera makes it even more noticeable of what a shadow you're in at the moment. So drastic.
So this would be so this would be with the LED lights in the back to create a little bit of depth and kind of interesting sort of feature. And my office lights are off. And it's cloudy outside, which is actually a great day to shoot video, and because it doesn't overexpose this side of my face.
Yeah, and you sent me a video, Paul, of what happens when you just have on, there you go. You have just your outside light, and you sent me a video, I think on a sunny day, and you can see a shadow on basically half of your face.
Yeah.
So what a big difference a $120 light kit makes.
Yeah, so this would be how I think most people show up with just their office light on and even a decent camera without any lighting. It's a completely different experience. Would you agree?
Absolutely. You look like a different person almost. All right, so looking at some of the other features that you have, Paul, because you're kind enough to share this with me. So you've got your total setup here, which is great to see, and you've got your mixing board, it looks like. And I would assume that's a combination of your LED lights behind you as well as your sound. Is that accurate?
So the LED lights are controlled by a remote, which is kind of fun, and they just plug into the wall. This console it's the company's Rode. It's out of Australia. It's actually a podcasting console. So you've got 4 inputs, so you can have 4 different mics, and then these sound pads over here, you can see them better on the picture. Are connected to audio loops. They could be jingles. They could be intro music. It could be laughs. Some of them that I use are pre-recording team meetings, kind of, hey, welcome, glad you guys are here. We'll get started in about 5 minutes. So you can dump those into a console like this and punch it. Let me see. I'll give you an example. Here's one. This is my outro that I use on team meetings now. That pick up? Did you hear that?
Yeah, it picks up great.
Yeah. So that's just they're built in. So that's fun, and that's what this console looks like. And some of the things on the video too that I demoed is you can take out some of the processing. Mm-hmm. So the other thing that's really cool when you invest in microphones that come through a digital soundboard, you're able to tweak the nuances with your voice that make it a little more pleasing to listen to when you're on the other end of a computer screen. So those are all just fun little things that aren't necessary, Tim, and that when you look at recruiting a $50 million producer, and when I have my team leader hat on, that those are the people I'm interested in talking to, and they deserve, in my opinion, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion, they deserve the best meeting experience possible.
Yeah, and if you can eliminate distractions.
Yeah, and some of those distractions are, I can't hear you, doesn't sound good, the video is not good, it's not the most flattering angle. It's the same thing when they walk into your market center and they would have a handout, or they would fill out an information sheet on an iPad, or they would see the technology going on the screens as they wait. That isn't happening in a traditional Zoom or video conference. So we get to create it, just like we would never walk into a recruiting appointment without being prepared and understanding their broker metrics number, or I would never walk into a coaching appointment not being prepared. So when you go to a digital-based business enhanced with physical interaction, my perspective, Tim, is that this is how we prepare.
Cool. So this is part of your preparation process. So quick, just shot at what that light looks like, so you can see the brand of it. We'll flow into, I put a couple additional slides in here, Paul, just for other options of microphones. This happens to be the mic that I use. You did this demonstration earlier just to turn it off.
There was so you turned it off and you didn't pick up your computer mic.
So now can you hear me again?
Yes.
Another danger of turning things off is you never know what's going to happen when you switch them off. There's a huge difference if I go to my computer mic, and it does take GoToWebinar a second for it to understand that. Again, very inexpensive mic. I think it was $120, podcasting style mic. Connects via USB directly to my computer. It also has a out, so you can also plug your headphones directly into it if you choose to. So something worth looking at. And then this is probably the most common question I get, Paul, is what do you use to have a digital drawing device? So I put 2 photos here, and you can see how dirty my whiteboard was when I had it against there. I happen to have a whiteboard desk, so I can draw right onto the desk. You see the Elmo there. As I shared with you yesterday, I got it on sale about 2.5 years ago. They've since gone up in price now that everybody's working from home. Here's what it looks like all stood up. Can draw directly on my desk. You'll notice right away there's less glare, although you do see some glare, because when I have my overhead lights on, there's a dramatic glare off of a whiteboard desk. So other ways to use technology in having these conversations. So Paul, if we look at your entire setup, and I know you have a higher end setup than perhaps some other leaders do. You don't have the essential package. You probably have a combination of the 2.0 plus some bells and whistles. What was your total cost?
So I went overboard on the console, which was right at about $500. The condenser or the dynamic mic and the boom stand on Amazon, $325. And then the light, 150. So it's 2.0, and the lights behind me, 2-pack for $60. So it's I was prepared to invest more in this new digital setup. And once I studied it and understood what it is that needs to happen and what talks to what, it came in under budget.
Okay, so you're under $1,000, it sounds like, for a pretty high quality setup. Maybe some pieces aren't needed by everyone, but for under $1,000, I have to imagine, without getting any specifics at all, Paul, you're incentivized for hiring cappers to your market center. You won't need to hire that many cappers to make $1,000 show back up as a return on investment during these tough times. And you've had a series of ongoing success in bringing people on board, even during this challenging time. So Paul, I can't thank you enough for sharing this. Our intention is to share this out beyond simply the community for tech-enabled leader, to also share it with as many team leaders as we can. So I'm going to do my best to probably cut portions of this and send it out via YouTube, so we don't necessarily have the whole section. And I know you and I had talked even offline of, we don't know exactly how this is going to go today. And I think it went is absolutely even better than I anticipated. Anything else as parting words you want people to hear, Paul?
This was something that I didn't have budgeted as a team leader. So I personally invested in this equipment and get to use it in coaching and the team leader business and other businesses. So it's not necessarily, Tim, something that I would expect every OP or every market center would just say, sure, blank check, go get what you want. And the one thing that we're seeing that is a secondary and a tertiary benefit is creating a studio like this that was possibly purchased by the market center. When we talk about zeroing out the cap, to have a studio like this, Tim, with this type of setup for an agent to come in and record a month's worth of podcast is going to run anywhere from $250 to $700 an hour. And to create a studio like this that the team leader used for recruiting and broadcasting sales meeting, and then ALC members, cappers, whatever that play looked like, this is a great way to add that extra layer of value into the market center as we look at, from a company standpoint, just zeroing out that cap. And if we can provide a professional quality studio for agents to record a podcast, that's $4,000 a year value or $2,000 a year value, which then the perceived value is backed up off of the cap. So that would be the only other thing that I would add is you can leverage this to your agents, your ALC, even a recruiting incentive. If it's set up in an environment in the market center that's not behind, again, this is my private office, certainly don't mind people coming in to use this, and you could run that play, which is really exciting.
Yeah, imagine an ALC member comes in today and secures a listing because they're using your technology that you've set up, and they pick up a $300,000 or $400,000 listing and they make an extra $12,000 this year because of what you've chosen to do. That is something irreplaceable. So that's a great point on here. If you've got questions about this session, I'm going to pop up our on demand. So this will be on demand for our community. In My Kajabi, you'll be able to go back and watch Paul and then deal with me as well throughout this session, see what best practices are out there. We're happy to answer any questions. Feel free to reach out to me, Tim Beverland at kw.com. Again, Paul, thank you. Can't thank you enough for coming on here. We'll do our best to get this out to our entire community. And as always, we're here to serve. Thanks so much.
My pleasure, Tim. Thank you so much.
Talk to you soon.